Thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Hello and of course welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. It's a pleasure to have you on radio once again. We are the sound of Lagos and of course we're here to provide you with information and keep you up to speed with events playing out in the country and beyond. Today on the show we of course start the Morning Express by bringing you information as reported on the front pages of our dailies. So from now till about 8:30 a.m. we would be reviewing the front pages of our papers, providing you with the top stories and of course accompany that with in-depth analysis and proper understanding of the headlines as reported on the front pages of our papers. And we call that segment of the Morning Express Trends in the Papers. We're going to go through all of these trends across the Guardian newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and of course Vanguard newspaper in no particular order. For analysis, of course, Fuhad Saheed is going to be joining us and we talk through all of this report. Of course, we get to the segment where we open the phone lines to give you an opportunity to participate as well. But before then, let's get through all of the stories that have been reported this morning. Again, you are welcome to radio. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. In just a few minutes, we'll be having conversations with Fuhad Saheed as we look through the front pages of our dailies. Fuhad, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing, Fuhad?
I'm doing very good.
Did something special happen? You're saying you're very good. What happened? Why are you?
Something special?
Yeah.
Well,
Why are you?
Well,
Why are you more excited than the rest of us?
you know, we're in a period where you just have to find happiness wherever you can get it.
Well,
However and wherever you can get it. So, I think what I did this morning was to wake up and just find a way to make myself happy. There's really nothing. There's
Fuhad,
really
you have
nothing but
money. You have money. You don't have to find the happiness. The happiness is in your pockets.
okay. Well, let's pray that what you have said comes to pass. But again, Nigerians just have to find a way to make themselves happy.
Of course.
We are coming from the loss of the AFCON final.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we also talk about cyberbullying. Very unfortunate what has happened with Alex Iwobi.
Yeah.
And the cyber stalking, the bullying, the insults and all of that. But again, I think we have to just learn, some of these things. Bad behavior everywhere. People don't understand that, there are people who are also very emotional. They are also human beings like us. And when you say a game is a team sport, you have 11 people playing that game and, it's a collective thing. You can't just keep all of the blame on someone. And these are guys you'll be praising for winning, so you lose a match and then everything goes down and then you don't even care about, the emotional, part of these things for some of these players who are also grappling with the loss of that game. So, again, I think we'll continue to learn that, look, sports is what it is. You can have the best of games and still lose a match. And you can have the worst of games and still win a match.
Yeah, well, he's had to deactivate his social media platforms for now just to get through all of the cyberbullying that has trailed the loss of the AFCON. But then we can do better as Nigerians. It's a game. It's football. Anything can happen. But it's all good. It's trends in the papers and we're about to start analysis for this morning. We have the Guardian, Punch and the Vanguard as I introduced earlier. So let's start conversations by looking through the Guardian newspaper. But before we do that, please be aware that we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube as we do every show that comes on air on the station. So please do well to follow us on social media, particularly our streaming platforms, Facebook and YouTube. We stream the shows live and allow the conversations to continue in the chat segment of our streaming platforms. Mainland 98.3 FM is how you can find us on Facebook and on YouTube. We're also very active on X at Mainland FM. Now to the Guardian newspaper, we have the top story here. 113.8 million undocumented Nigerians raise doubts on population size. That is the story. Now let's have a quick look at the body of the story in itself. There are a few riders to this story. Registration still 32% short of World Bank's 148 million June target. Insecurity defies NIN SIM linkage as kidnapping festers. Experts want federal government to fix economy, create jobs to curb insecurity. Those are the riders. And to the story in itself, despite efforts to close the gap, the disparity between the number of issued national identification numbers, that's NIN, and the country's population figure remains extreme, raising concerns about the country's ability to meet crucial milestones. This comes as the NIN enrollment figure and distribution pattern raise questions on the credibility of the population estimate, which the National Population Commission (NPC) pegged at near 218 million last year. So to add some sort of simplicity to this story, Fuad, you know that it became a very strong project of the federal government to ensure that every Nigerian has their national identification number. We also, in a way, collaborated with the World Bank and other international agencies. They were doing this to minimize exclusion risk, because there's a lot of services that will be made available to the general population. And if you do not have your national identification number, it would almost be impossible for you to access these services, because they're trying to build their database and they're able to identify bona fide citizens of the country, especially now that foreign countries want to collaborate with Nigeria. But then the fact that we still have about 113.8 million Nigerians who currently do not have their NIN has called to question our population. We're supposed to be 218 million according to NPC, but now questions are being raised. Are we really 208 million, or we're just overestimating, considering the last census we conducted was in 2018, probably some 18 years ago rather, so that all of these estimates might be wrong if we're truly 218 and we still have over 100 million Nigerians that are undocumented. What do you make of the story, Fuad?
Well, see, because of our unique situation, and I carefully use the word unique this morning, we have our own peculiarities. We know our challenge. The last time we conducted a population census was in 2006.
2006.
And I was a part of that particular census, not as a mere enumerator. I was a supervisor in one of the communities in Taraba State at that time. So I can say for sure how we were able to conduct the census at that time. Each of the peculiarities at that time, which I don't think we have been able to address. Now, when it comes to the issue of data management, when it comes to the issue of figures, when it comes to the issue of really the population size of the country, I must say that, look, it's difficult to work with any data, really. It's difficult to work with any data because there will always be questions as to the authenticity of that particular data. Again, the Senate has said that, look, the census that was postponed from last year will now be conducted this year. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is working with a population of 220 million people. Now, we've had the NIN stage. We've had, what is it called, the BVN. We have different platforms by which biometrics of Nigerians have been captured. And if you aggregate all of those things we've done, you can have an idea of what our population size should be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect, but that can give you an idea of, okay, what I know is that, look, whether we are working with 200, 220, or more than that, the reality is that Nigeria is still the most populous black nation in the world. The second is that we are the most populous nation in Africa. And the fact is that, look, our population is going less than 150 million. At least that we can work with. But when it comes to having the actual number of Nigerians, it will be extremely difficult at this time because, again, it will be difficult because, again, we have infrastructure issues. There are still far-flung parts of the country where people are still completely cut away. You know, And it's extremely difficult to capture those types of people. And even in areas where, of course, there's modality, you can easily say, okay, you want to enumerate and capture the numbers of people. There are politicians who also go into these things and try to mess it up. Like I said, we have our own unique peculiarity. The population of the country is seen as a political tool. And so, the last census we conducted was a complete sham. I'm sorry. I know what I'm talking about. We have situations where politicians were trying to show up the numbers so that, of course, there can be arguments and justification for the number of persons living in their communities and in their different states. So what we can do is we're going to have the census because, again, it said that, look, it's supposed to be a 10-year thing. The last time we did it was in 2006. It's overdue, and we don't have to conduct it. But I doubt if we're going to have a perfect figure. We just work with what we can work with and plan with what we can plan. But the big question again is that, look, are we even planning anything with those numbers? Have we been even doing anything with those numbers? What have been and what we've done in the past with the numbers we have? So I really think that, look, we do what we want to do. But what I just know is that, look, we have a population that's supposed to be an asset, not a liability.
Well, a telecommunication expert, Kehinde Aluko, says that indeed these figures of over 200 million might not be true because in the north we have a neonatal mortality increasing. We have more children dying in the north, and in the south is not a lot of people that are making decisions to have children. In fact, most people are adopting. So the birth rate is declining in the south, and the mortality rate in the north is increasing. So it's impossible that we really are up to the 218 million that the MPC is claiming that we are right now. But the concern of the World Bank really is that the vital services that are supposed to be made available to the people, the fact that they don't have their NIN, they also mentioned the kidnapping rate in the country. People are really afraid to go out and perform all these activities. People will not have access to these vital services because, Fuad, if you know the social security number in the United States, for example, with your social security number, you can access just about any service of government. But here in Nigeria, there's no NIN, there's no database. One person can access the provisions that are supposed to be, for an entire group of people just because they have NIN and the other people do not have NIN. So the World Bank is really focusing on the economic implication that this is going to have and the quality of service that would not be made available to people because they don't have their NIN. Do you want to speak on that aspect as well?
No. I agree with their concerns. Like I said, we have our own unique situation. It's really more complex than what our World Bank is highlighting. And I know what I'm saying. There's a political will that comes with this thing. There's also the social implications that comes with this thing. And the fact that, look, as a people, we have not even learned to do the right thing, the right way. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah. There are situations where we can just work with what we have. You understand? And then aggregate. Just try and say, okay, on the average, this is what we have. And on the average, you can begin to plan with that. For us to have a perfect figure, I think it's going to be extremely difficult. Again, we'll have to wait to see what happens in the upcoming census in November. I don't think we're going to try and do something different. I don't see the possibility of us even introducing technology to make enumeration better and more accurate. You understand? Because the last enumeration we did was largely manual. Yeah. The counting, the summation, you had people adding figures, people manipulating figures, and of course technology would have helped with proper enumeration and accuracy. But I don't think we're even going to do that. Look, it was a simple thing as conducting elections we have not been able to do. So for us to now begin to say we want to have the exact numbers of Nigerians accurately done through a census program, I think will be extremely difficult because of our own uniqueness. I'm using the word unique now, quote and unquote. I'm sure you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
We just try to politicize and mess up everything. The very simple thing has political implications, and when that happens, it's difficult to do the right thing.
All right. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to another story now. Alleged $6 billion fraud. You have no power to try me. Ex-Minister Agunoye tells EFCC. Now, a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory sitting at Akpo yesterday fixed February 26, 2024, to hear a motion that the former Minister of Power and Steel, Oluwagunloye, who was accused of complicity in a $6 billion contract fraud, filed to challenge the powers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to prosecute him. Now, the EFCC alleged that Agunloye, who served as a minister between 1999 and 2003, under the administration of the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, illegally awarded a contract for the construction of 3,960 megawatt Mambila hydroelectric power station on a build, operate, and transfer basis. Well, Fuad, basically, we're seeing the ex-minister Agunloye challenging the powers of the EFCC to prosecute him for this particular crime. Now, they've highlighted, well, with the help of his legal team, of course, they're saying that the offenses that he's being charged with is his alleged disobedience to presidential directive and the alleged forgery of a letter which is dated May 22, 2023. Now, according to his legal team, these allegations do not constitute financial crimes, and they can be lawfully investigated and prosecuted. So, it is in no way a responsibility of the EFCC to try or prosecute him because his offenses are not financial crimes. He's also asking the court to deter the EFCC from inviting or investigating his shorties because he was granted bail, but then that his shorties are being harassed by the EFCC, and that this continuous harassment would make his shorty abandon their responsibility, and that would pose a complication for his case. So it's two things here: that the EFCC has no right whatsoever to try or prosecute him because his crimes are not financial crimes, or what he's being accused of are not necessarily financial crimes. And also they're asking that the EFCC be refrained from investigating or speaking to any of his shorties because it stands as intimidation of some kind. What are your thoughts, Fuad?
Well, this is a case in court, so don't be able to delve too much into it so that we don't go subjudice or go prejudicial.
Yeah.
But again, I'm looking at this argument of Dr. Aguloye's lawyers, and I'm like, well, it will left for the prosecution counsel of the EFCC. The prosecutors will now do their own job to make sure that these are financial crimes. I think we've done enough analysis on what really happened with Dr. Oluwagunloye and the Mambila Power Project when the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and all of the stories around it. I think we've done enough analysis on that, how all of those contracts went, and how the former president Olusegun Obasanjo is saying that he's ready to testify against Dr. Oluwagunloye in court. Dr. Oluwagunloye said that, look, that entire project was supposed to be a deal of transfer, saying the government needed to have spent money, and that while he was out of office as Minister of Power, the government had gone ahead to now award those contracts in bits and pieces, and that, look, he had no claims. I think there's been a lot of talk and analysis on what really happened. But on this particular case in court, one would expect that, look, before the EFCC presents him in court, they must have done their job very well. They have a valid case against him, and they are ready to prosecute diligently. He also has the right to defend himself and accuse the presumed innocent until found guilty. And when it comes to corruption cases, we've been seeing a pattern of technicalities coming up in court.
Yeah.
The recent one was, for example, the former army chief that was really set free by the court because they thought that, look, his crime should have been prosecuted by a court martial of the army and not the regular court. So the merit of the case itself was not looked at, but the technicality of the case. So whether what happened at that time was a financial crime or not, the court will decide. But again, that will be dependent majorly on how well the prosecution can push their case on this particular one. But whether what the lawyers are saying makes sense or not, I'm sorry, at this stage we will not be able to say so much on that because the case in court and our profession really, I should not get into matters like that.
Right. Right. Okay. You can get more information on this particular story on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. This is still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Fuhad Saheed is joining us virtually, and together we are looking at the front page of the Guardian newspaper, reeling out the story and, of course, providing you with analysis on selected stories. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, so please do well to join us on those platforms. On Facebook, Mainland 98.3 FM, also on YouTube, Mainland 98.3 FM. On X, we are at Mainland FM. Now, moving on to other stories, we have here reps flame ministry's inability to defend 75 billion naira COVID-19 expenditure. That's the story. Now, the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives have flayed officials of the Ministry of Industry over their inability to explain how they expended 75 billion naira in COVID-19 intervention fund. The committee, chaired by Mr. Bamidele Salam, expressed dismay over the inadequate document submitted by the ministry officials on how the allocated money was expended. Salam described the submissions as a worthless piece of document which does not say anything. And the current permanent secretary of the ministry, Nura Abba Rimi, appeared before the committee yesterday and said he only assumed office at the ministry on January 21 at this year. Fuad, a lot of probes have been going on about how monies were being allocated and spent, especially under the former president Muhammadu Buhari, where one of such probe is the COVID-19 fund that was given to the Ministry of Industry, 75 billion. Now, the ministry has been asked to explain how they went about using the fund that was provided to them. But the documents that are being submitted, according to this report, do not contain any relevant information whatsoever that properly captures what they did with said money. And the head of the ministry at this time is saying, I was not the head of the ministry when that money was given, so I can't tell you anything reasonable because I was not there. So that's the situation of things right now. Fuad.
You know what? These are low-hanging fruits for the EFCC to lash on, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm not the only ministry. There are several ministries that the House of Reps have questioned as to how they manage the COVID funds that went to them. We've seen all manner of allocations of the COVID funds. Some of them extremely ridiculous because you ask yourself, what were they doing with the COVID funds? So what did they do with the COVID funds?
Yes.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of them is questioned. Now, for this Ministry of Trade and Industry, that 75 billion was to help businesses that were struggling at that time. Some of them were almost going to collapse because, of course, there was a complete shutdown of the economy and all of that. So that ministry was to help engender, the revitalization of so many businesses that were struggling at that time. So, look, it would have just been very easy. Even if you are a new appointee or you understand of a ministry, I'm sure you exchange notes. The person that was leaving would have exchanged some notes. Would have been able to do a proper handover and all of that. But it's good that he's saying that he's new. He doesn't really know what has happened. The people that should know, I'm sure are still alive. And it would be nice for the EFCC to invite them. Again, I always say that, look, when these folks are happening, I hope that they always invite the EFCC to sit down and take note of these things. Because again, look, you have this kind of money, 75 billion. All they needed to have done is say, look, these are the businesses we supported with this money. These are the modalities. And that is why we say that, look, it's not about government raising money. It's about the judicious use of those money. And that's why some of us keep saying that, look, you are going to borrow, you are going to do this, you are going to raise revenue, blah, blah, blah. With the corruption index in Nigeria, you will make all of this money and it will be filtered away. And that's why we remember that this COVID fund, it was not locally sourced alone. It was donations from all over the world. Some of them locally, some of them, from international donor organizations. But look at what we have done with it now. People cannot even explain. And this is not the only ministry. Several ministries, participants, and agencies that got the money have not been able to account for how they spend the money. Even governors that got the money at that time. I remember that Tğᴇ got 10 billion. How many of the governors who got the support at that time? How many of the agencies and participants who got the money have been able to account for how they spend the money? So this one, the House of Reps will put, if they're going to get anything out of it, I doubt. I really doubt if anything will come out of the post, because these are money that have been now gone. Unless the EFCC will do a thorough job to dig into it and get these guys to account for this money. But it's another way to show that, look, we are not serious with proper management of resources or of the people.
So if you cannot account for monies that was given to your ministry, is there not going to be any punitive measure invoked, or after the probe, no explanation whatsoever, or according to the chairman of that committee probing them, who says that all of the documents that they've submitted are extremely useless? What's going to happen? You just ask them to go back home? Because, I mean, no punishment whatsoever. You don't get punished for a lack of accountability after a probe, or what? So what's the point of the probe?
I understand the frustration of the House of Reps panel probing these ones. These guys are going to come with documents that are completely useless.
Yeah.
Some of them very embarrassing. You understand? Some of them you almost vomit when you see what they say. And these are guys you expect to be at their highest when it comes to intellect and intelligence. So because of corruption, they come looking stupid when they are talking. We know what to do. You remember when the NDDC probe was happening now? The professor was thinking. He thought that the professor was thinking at that time didn't know what he was doing.
He might have not been feeling
fine.
Maybe he has not eaten.
Maybe
he has not eaten. Maybe he had not eaten. We don't know that. He might have been hungry or something.
He didn't eat before he came before the probe panel.
Or he was thirsty.
Then after fainting at that panel, have you seen him again? Did you hear anything again?
He's receiving treatment.
So these guys know what they are saying. They are the people that will go before the panel without any document. Some of them will go there. Remember when even military appeared before the panel several times without any document? And they said, oh, sorry, I didn't remember. And at that time, you see them say they don't even understand anything. Oh, they don't have the accurate figures now. They have to go back again. They know what they are doing. So, again, that's why I said that, look, these are things the EFCC can latch on and make a case from. Because these are low-hanging fruit for them. You got 75 billion. How did you spend it? The document should be clear. Let's see how you spend the money.
Well, more information on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, moving forward, NLC pegs wage against Naira depreciation amid calls for urgent action against hardship and hunger. This is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. The writers to the story tell Tinubu to tackle hunger, insecurity. Emir of Kano urges First Lady. Release grains to people to tame rising cost of food. Barrow to governors, local government bosses. Buhari's reckless policy responsible for current hardship, says Oshiomhole. They were silent during Buhari's 8 years. Adeoju tackles northern religious and traditional leaders. Now, as more citizens feel the pangs of hunger amid increasing hardship over rising cost of food, indications have emerged that the organized labor is jettisoning its earlier recommendation of 200,000 naira new minimum wage for 1 million naira. This new benchmark, according to the president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, becomes imperative against the background of the country's galloping inflation, citing the soaring price of food items and inflationary pressure in the economy. I'd like to quote a part of what Joe Ajero said. Now, he says, we're not talking of a minimum wage that will not be enough for transportation, even for a week. It is not just that they want to give us a minimum wage. The old minimum wage will expire by April. Ordinarily, the federal government ought to have set up a committee 6 months before that time so that negotiation would have been commenced. But up until now, the federal government committee has not been set up, not to talk of sitting. It appears we are going to have to work within 1 month or two to agree on a figure. And I doubt how this is going to work, especially when you look at the people that the federal government assembled as members of the committee. Fuad, Joe Ajero is still insisting on 1 million naira as the new figure for minimum wage. He says the 200,000 is no longer realistic against the backdrop of the forex crisis, the inflation figures, food inflation, amongst other things. He's also calling to question the credibility of those who constitute the committee, the minimum wage committee, and he says they should have started negotiations 6 months ago, but now that they're just starting, it's probably going to take some 2 to 3 months before they reach a resolution, and we do not have the luxury of time. Fuad.
Okay, we'll take that first. I'm sure we'll also look at other riders.
Yes.
But are you going to blame Joe, the NLC president, now for looking at 1 billion as the minimum wage? Can you really blame him?
But is that
And
realistic?
if you look at what, it's not realistic.
Is it? I'm asking. Is it a realistic figure?
Why is it not realistic? Because we don't have the money.
Do we?
Is that what you think is not realistic?
I mean, is there anybody that can conveniently pay workers $1 million naira?
Okay, but we can conveniently pay 3 billion for car park.
Okay, I know
We
that.
can conveniently use 3 billion
I'm going
to
to
build
stop
car
now.
park.
I'm going to stop talking now.
Sorry?
I'm going to stop talking now. I don't have a
We
defense.
can use 5 billion to renovate houses, 15 billion to build houses. You know, that's what we're saying. It is only the thing that concerns the poor that is not realistic. Oh, that will cause inflation. That the government does not have money to pay. It is that thing that concerns the ordinary people. But the one that concerns them, we would always find a way to accommodate it, and that one will be realistic. And if you look at it, it's not trying to trivialize or to scandalize this particular conversation thing. The reality is that, look, at the point where the Labour LP was negotiating for 200,000 naira, what was the rate of the dollar at that time? What was the issue? What was the rate of the naira to the dollar at that time? And that's what you are actually saying.
About 800.
Now look, everything has gone up. Sorry?
It was about 800 naira.
Now we are talking about 1,530 naira.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the naira closed at the naira to the dollar closed at 1,530 naira. And I don't think it's going to stop. And so even the Labour in their negotiations, sorry, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if they are saying 1 million now, maybe they should put it at 1.5.
Ah.
They say, what?
What? You say what?
They are better be futuristic about their negotiation, so that they will not negotiate for something now, and then in 6 months they are complaining that the money is not enough. So in their negotiation, they should put it at the back of their mind that there's no stopping this free fall. Because we say we are not going to eat 2,000 anytime from now. So again, I hope that Labour has the right strategy to negotiate this minimum wage thing. Like Joe has said, by April, this minimum wage thing would have ended. And ordinarily 6 months before now, they are supposed to have constituted committees, start negotiations, having discussions and all of that. But now, they have to already do something. And you know, yesterday we were saying, the committee has been put together. It's supposed to be a 37-man committee, a tripartite committee. And the committee has not even started to do the job. Somebody is already requesting for 1.8 billion for the committee. The committee that has governors, that has government officials, power state agencies, heads of agencies and power state ministers, and then the secretary to the government of federation is requesting for 1.8 billion. It was scaled down to 1 billion, and then 500 million has been approved on the fourth instance. And so you ask yourself, if these guys are actually even committed to doing the job, other than looking for money everywhere and anywhere. So, look, I won't fault Jᴏɪᴜ for saying that, look, from what they are saying, and the way the economy is structured at this time, the minimum wage should be 1 million naira. And I'm saying that it should be 1.5, because they have to be futuristic. And the government cannot come, I have to say, with the current reckless spending we are seeing in government, they cannot come and say there's no money. So the fellow president was saying it yesterday that, look, there's no way they are going to tell us there's no money. There's no way. They are going to tell us there's no money. The money we don't have is the money to satisfy the greed. The greed of the political class and their cronies and associates. Say, what has been the benefit of removing subsidy? What have we gained from removing subsidy? What was the thing they told us at the point of removing subsidy? Oh, the money should be available. Oh, we'll now use the money to better the life of the people. As we speak, say, the political class is very happy. Do you know that in the last 6 months, consistently, they've been sharing about 1 trillion naira, even more than that. So this money that has been shared, the governors are now getting huge amounts of money. More monies are now going to government. What have they been able to do with it? The only thing we keep hearing is that we are going to do. We are going to do. People should be patient. But they are taking care of themselves. See, they are taking care of themselves. That's why in December, all of the governors were so happy they came to see the president in Lagos to thank him. Because they are not making more money, sharing more money. Consistently, they are not sharing trillions of naira. How does that trickle down to bettering the lives of the people? So, look, it is there for Labour, because again, Labour will be negotiating for their own people and their own members. And why we are saying is that other Nigerians too have to begin to think about it. We have to continue to think about it. But I'm not going to buy the argument that there's no money. The money we don't have in the country, I repeat again, is the money to satisfy the greed and corruption of the political class and their cronies.
Fuad, the other part of this story, we have the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibrin, that's the senator representing APC Kano North. He's saying that, that we should distribute grains to people to
because
and Labour is actually saying this is an insult to Nigerians, first of all, that the only thing you can come up with is to distribute grains to Nigeria as palliative. But he's not the only one that has something to say.
What do you do with the grain?
You plant it in
your
your backyard.
Grain, now what do you do with it?
We'll plant it in our backyard.
You plant it?
In our backyard. What are we going to do? Yeah, we'll plant it now. You plant it in your...
Okay, so they'll give me grain now to plant. Where am I going to plant the grain? And then wait for another how many months? Or they expect me to go and... what am I supposed to... What are Nigerians supposed to do with the grain? Let's even start with that.
You eat small and you be...
You know that we started with sharing of rice.
Yes.
And there was no rice anywhere for anybody to see, except for their few, friends and political associates and members. If they need that grain they are talking about, what are Nigerians supposed to do with it?
You will cook small and plant small.
So when they get the grain, what are they going to eat with it? Where is the money to buy pepper or buy anything to now use to eat the grain? Or they are going to eat the grain raw?
I don't know.
And I'm just going to eat the grain raw? That's the question I'm asking. Hey, and how does that solve any problem? You see the thinking of the political class. It was understanding to see. You see, I don't know why you are saying it's completely ridiculous, and insulting. We are talking about serious assets in the land, and the only thing they are saying is that they are going to release grain for the grain to do what with that grain. Exactly.
Well, Fuad, Adams Oshiomhole also had something to say. As a matter of fact, he is defending this administration. He says that all of the hardship that we're going through right now is the ripple effect of some of the policies of the former administration, and it's not necessarily it's not necessarily the fault of the Tinubu-led administration, and so we should not, be too aggressive to this administration.
Are you not shocked that APC is now blaming APC?
Well,
it doesn't shock you.
But it's different people. That's what he's saying. That is it's Kono party, but it's different people.
No. Look, for 8 years, the Buhari government blamed the PDP. 16 years of PDP. Oh, they bastardized the economy. They did this. They were stealing. Blah blah blah. For 8 years. And we said it before this last election. I said, look, I'm not even going to be looking at political party. But no Nigerian is going to take any excuse or blame game from the government, whoever wins. That was during the elections. Now look, whether it is Peter Obi, whether it is Atiku, whether it is Aṣíwájú Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu, Nigerians are not going to be taking any blame game anymore. What Nigerians are looking for is the person that already we know the problem. Nigerians know the problem. What Nigerians are looking for is the person that has what it takes to fix the problem. Not to continue to come and tell us and continue to blame past government. It is about blaming, then what's the government to blame? Government is not about blaming, it's about fixing the problem. So I listen to Oshiomhole and what this guy is saying. They are even part of the problem. So we are not going to wake up. So are we going to deal with another 4 years of blame? Oh, we continue to blame the past government. So that's what we're going to do for another 4 years. Which was what we did for 8 years under the Buhari government. So APC will now be blaming APC. After APC blamed PDP for 15 years. So APC will now start another 4 years of blame of 8 years of another APC government. Or what are we talking about here?
Fuad, but Sanusi Lamido, the former emir, is also, he supports this notion. He thinks it's unfair.
Yes, it is the conspiracy of the elitist class. That's the conspiracy. They say the same thing the same way to control the narrative. It is the conspiracy of the political and the elitist class. That's what they do. You see, they are very deliberate about this thing. You see, this one will say it, another one will say it, then another one will back it up. And before you know it, you begin to think what they are saying is reasonable. You know, when you consistently say things in different ways, in different manners to control the narrative, before you know it, you begin to think about, oh, maybe it's a Buhari problem, or it's not the party. It is the problem of this government, because they have introduced this policy that are further impoverished Nigerians. And until they begin to take responsibility for what they have done, nothing will change. You can't start at this time to begin to deflect on the real issues. So we're going to be dealing with another 8 years or 4 years of blame game. Is that what Nigerians are going to be? How does that even make any sense? I don't know what I'm saying that, look, you know what all this started. You see, when we say these things, people don't pay attention. Subsidy must go. Subsidy must go. You know, you ask the governor, subsidy has to go. Oh, it's a circle of corruption. You ask their political crony, oh, subsidy has to go. Everything, subsidy must go. And we are asking them, what is the problem with subsidy? We say, oh, there's a kind of corruption in subsidy that has made it unsustainable government. I would say, look, as a government, can't you fix the problem with subsidy? That corruption in subsidy that you are talking about, can it not be fixed? Is it something that you cannot fix? But they have their plan. The plan is to remove subsidy to make more money available for government, which is now happening. They cannot share more money. That's money. And I said, look, when you make all of these monies available, with our corruption index, nothing will change. Things will get worse. And that is the reality of what we are seeing now. And instead of them addressing that, it is a blame game of the Buhari government for 8 years. I'm sorry, Nigeria did not elect this government to come and be giving them excuses and blame games. They elected them to fix the problem of the people. President Tʀᴇ said it now, that look, don't pity me. Don't pity me. I called for this job and I'm going to do it.
Page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, you find more information. We're still streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. Very briefly now, let's move to page 21. Import duty, forex rate raised, fourth time in February, now 1,444.56 naira to a dollar. Well, Fuad, the rider, Nigeria car dealers in Canada, United States, closing shops as sales drop. Now, for the fourth time in 1 month, that's 4 times in 1 month, the benchmark foreign exchange rate for computing import duties has been raised to 1,444.56 naira to a dollar. The rate was adjusted from 1,356 and reviewed to 1,413. Now it has been increased to 1,444, and for the outcome, or should I say the consequence of this increase, is now that car dealers in Canada, Nigerian car dealers in Canada, in the United States and across other parts of the country are starting to close shop, as there's absolutely nobody patronizing their business at this time.
It's really wrong to limit it to only car dealers. Every other person that is importing something to the country now is facing this. Every other person that imports anything into the country now is facing this, because it's still about import duty we are talking about. And why do we have this problem? The government wants to make money. It's not about making money, it's not about revenue generation. So what happens is that in February alone, the import duty has been paid there 4 times, because they are not using dollars to calculate import duty. And that is basically because government wants to make more money, revenue. The same revenue they are going to spend recklessly. And then there's hardship in the land. More money for government, more hardship for the people. More struggle for the business class. A lot of them are closing shop. Manufacturers are complaining. Dealers are complaining. People are losing their jobs. But government is making more money to filter into a very corrupt political class. That's the problem. Why do we have this problem of import duty? It's not about revenue generation for government. I am still saying the economic outlook of this government is to make more money for government, more money available for government, with the promise that when the money is made, the government will use the money to better the lives of the people. And I'm saying that, look, that thinking is completely faulty. When you have this corruption index, when you have an extremely corrupt political class, that thinking can never work. And that's why we are in this trouble. That's why we are in this problem. And that's why we are in this problem. You want to remove money, after making money through a very corrupt political class. Look at the government saying. They are so happy. Are you seeing any government complaining again about money?
No.
But now that they have been consistently sharing trillions of naira, 1 trillion, 1.3. I think the last time I was even a time they said about 1.9 trillion. What have they been able to do now with those money to better the lives of their people? So import duty becoming a problem, car dealers cannot longer import. Nigeria can't even buy Tokunbo cars again. Manufacturers are complaining. Medical suppliers are complaining. Everybody is complaining. But you know the people that are not complaining, the political class. They are not complaining because they are taking care of themselves. With all manner of ridiculous and fraudulent appropriations of our money. So we ask ourselves, is government about a few people or about the generality of Nigerians? That's the question we should ask ourselves. So is the government structured to help only a few political people in government and their associates? Or is government structured for the generality of Nigerians to better their lives? That's the question we should ask ourselves.
Right. You can get more information on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Well, let's just read through the rest of the headlines that we have here. Abduction, father of slain Anambra lawyer slumps, dies. This is on page 12. A lawyer and a medical doctor, his brother, they were abducted. They released the doctor, but the gunmen allegedly killed the lawyer because apparently the lawyer had been writing petitions against their activities. And this is according to a source. Although the police department, they are saying they don't have that report, but an unnamed source says that the gunman allegedly killed the lawyer because he has been writing petitions against their activities. Now, the father of said lawyer has slumped and died when he got news about the death of his lawyer's son. That's that story on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's about it for Guardian newspaper. For the Punch, we have here, WGA, federal government, US begin talks as officials test Copter's wreckage. I beg your pardon. More investigation is going into probably the cause of the wreckage or the crash that saw the unfortunate passing of the Access CEO and the 6 others that were on board. The headline here, private sector states faults, Labour's push for 1 million. This is the conversation on minimum wage. Outages, federal government plans sanction for non-performing discos. As a matter of fact, they're only going to get 50% of their operating expenditure as punishment. So if they do not perform optimally, they would only be getting 50% of their operating expenditure until they do what is expected of them. That's what the federal government is saying to discos. We have here, IMF forecast $8 billion fall in Nigeria's 2024 foreign reserve. The headline already explains itself. NAFDAC insists on sachet alcohol ban, hoodlums attack officials. Fuad, I saw this. The ban on the sachet alcohol and the PET bottles below 200 mils has caused a lot of outrage, and we even have officials of NAFDAC now being attacked, and a lot of protests are still going on. But NAFDAC has remained resolute that the ban is the ban and nothing's going to change that. And finally, we have kidnappers killed our drivers for talking. That's the Ekiti school worker, the kids that were abducted, in Ekiti, who have now been released by the kidnappers. They said the driver was killed because he was engaging the abductors, and it escalated and led to
we suspected that maybe he was trying to be that's the danger with the kidnapping situation, it could go wrong very, very fast if there's an attempt to, want to fight these guys. Yeah. My mind was like maybe he was trying to be a bit. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. Really, very, very unfortunate.
He was killed. Now, finally, for Vanguard newspaper, Buhari's reckless policies triggered current hardship, says Sanusi Oshiomhole. That's the top story for Vanguard.
Because he was worried that they removed subsidy the way they removed it.
Fuad.
Abi?
So he
was worried that removed subsidy without a plan.
That is a moot point. That's a moot point. It's actually debatable because even the past administration only made provisions for subsidy till June, if you remember. So there's still some sort of arguments about who removed and who did not remove, but we really don't have time, really.
They removed. If Buhari made, you see, they always come up with some of these infantile arguments.
Yeah.
That something was made provisions for till June. When did they remove it?
Okay, I get it. But then that's still the argument.
And then when they were removing it, what was the plan? People keep saying that, look, the way you are going to remove this subsidy, there is a plan. And then the same supporters of government, where is the plan now? After removal of subsidy, where is the plan? So the plan is to give the money to the governors and the political class, the very corrupt political class. So that's the plan. So is that not a very useless plan? Where we know that the money will be stolen. Let us ask them, where is the benefit of removing subsidy? Please answer that question.
Okay.
Where is that benefit now? The same benefit they told us. Where is it now?
Let's get through Vanguard. We have here economy. We're almost on the way to Venezuela, says PDP governors. Kidnappers from Ekiti, Edo, Kogi evading Ondo, says Amotekun. Why federal government should consider 1 million as minimum wage. This is from the NLC. And crisis hit Labour Party. Treasurer asks chairman to account for 3.5 billion naira.
You see the problem.
I heard about that story. We will talk about it as we proceed with conversation.
The chairman is buying houses all over the world.
Outside the country as well. He only remitted 55 million and he allegedly made up to 3.5 billion naira. Those are the allegations going on in the Labour Party. Anyways, we actually have to go right now. We're going to take a commercial break to be back by 8:40 a.m. for Mainland Focus, where we open the phone lines and allow you to be a part of conversations. Don't go anywhere. This is Mainland 98.3 FM.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the worrisome increase in the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The FSRCC and NBC hereby advises the general public to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns.